What if a single letter in your mailbox could completely change your life? Well, for one man, a letter that promised him a huge fortune from a long lost relative did exactly that. But unfortunately, not in the way that he'd hoped. Today, we're going to break down how that promise ended up costing him his entire life savings.
Welcome to Real Scam Stories. In this series from Guardianly, we dig into true reports just like this one. Our whole goal here is to show you the red flags and the tricky tactics that scammers use so you can stay one step ahead and keep yourself safe. So our story starts with a man we're going to call Leo. One day, this very official-looking letter shows up at his door. It's got a Portuguese stamp, a professional letterhead. I mean, this is not your average bill or piece of junk mail. This was an offer that looked like it was about to change everything for him. And inside that envelope, it was basically a golden ticket. A lawyer, supposedly from Portugal, was reaching out with this proposal that felt like it was pulled straight out of a movie. Now, the story they spun was incredibly specific. This lawyer said his wealthy client had passed away, leaving millions of dollars behind. And here's the hook, the thing that made it all feel so real. The deceased person had the exact same, really uncommon last name as Leo. The lawyer claimed he couldn't find any other relatives, so now he was reaching out to him. The proposal itself was really clever. See, it wasn't just a simple gift. It was framed as this secret partnership. The lawyer suggested a scheme. Leo would pose as a distant relative, they'd go claim the fortune together, and then they'd split the huge inheritance 50-50. It made it feel like they were a team, like they were in this together. So you might be asking, why would anyone actually believe a story like this? Well, you have to remember these scammers are absolute experts at making the unbelievable seem totally plausible. So let's break down how they build that all-important layer of trust. The scammers use a bunch of different tactics to seem legitimate. For one, the letter didn't look cheap at all. It had this fancy letterhead and was packed with confusing legal jargon. That shared last name made the offer feel so personal, not like some generic email blast. And that physical stamp from Portugal, such a simple but really powerful touch that made the whole thing just feel real. So once Leo was convinced this opportunity was for real, the hook was set. And that's when the scammers moved to the most critical phase of the whole plan, getting money to flow from Leo, not to him. Of course, right? A multi-million-dollar transaction isn't going to be free. The lawyer explained that to just get the process started, they needed to cover a few small official-sounding fees. A tiny price to pay to unlock a fortune, yeah? This is the classic first step of what's known as an advance fee scam. But it was never just one fee. It quickly became this vicious cycle. After Leo paid the first one, another one would suddenly pop up. Oops, a forgotten bank policy, a surprise local tax. And at every single step, the lawyer would reassure him. He'd even claim he was paying his half of these new fees, which just reinforced their whole partnership. They were always so close to the finish line, which just made it harder and harder for Leo to walk away. This cycle of paying and waiting went on for months. Leo just kept sending money, truly believing that each fee was the very last one, standing between him and millions of dollars. But the truth was about to come out. Just think about it for a second. A fee here, a tax there, it really starts to add up. How much do you think Leo poured into this non-existent inheritance before he finally realized the devastating truth? $30,000. And this wasn't just some extra cash he had lying around. It was his entire life savings. Gone. The inheritance, the lawyer, the partnership, it was all an elaborate lie, designed from the very beginning to do one thing: drain his bank account dry. Leo's story is just devastating, but it contains some really powerful lessons for all of us. So how can we use what happened to him to build our own defense plan against scams just like this one? So what happened to Leo actually has a name. It's an inheritance scam. It's a classic type of advance fee fraud. The core promise is always some huge future payout in exchange for small payments up front. If you ever see that pattern, your alarm bells should be going off like crazy. So what should you do if a letter like this lands on your doorstep? It really comes down to 3 simple steps. First, just stop. The pressure to act fast is a classic scam tactic. Never, ever send money based on some random offer. Second, verify. And don't ask the person who contacted you for proof. Talk to a real independent lawyer or financial advisor that you find on your own. And finally, report it to the authorities. It can help protect other people from falling into the same trap. And that brings us to a final, really crucial thought. It's easy to sit here and think, I would never fall for that, but these scammers are professionals at manipulation. So the real question isn't just if you'd be suspicious, it's do you have a plan? Take a moment and really think, who is that trusted independent person you could call for advice? Knowing that answer, well, that's your best defense.